What's up, everybody? This is Kieran Reese, otherwise known as the Obsessed Compulsive Gamer Industry, and hopefully I'm live with Metal Gear Solid 3. Oh, hey, Nicholas, good to see you, man. Sorry, hold on a second. Okay, you retract the message. I mean, there's the pose I got for you, man. I was waiting for my girlfriend, my fiance, to show up. Yeah, all the different ways you can mess with the title screen. I'm gonna get Metal Gear Solid Delta when it comes out in a few days. Well, like 11 or so. And I wanted my fiance Sammy to be introduced to the original Metal Gear Solid 3, so she has a comparison point. She's never played any of these games, and it's hard to appreciate all the improvements that remake makes, you have no comparison. So I at least want her to see the opening introduction to this game. So she has a reference point. Hey, Sammy. Love of my life. Oh, my betrothed, mon ami. Anyway, so I've talked about Metal Gear Solid before. Metal Gear Solid is one of the most famous series of gaming. I love Metal Gear Solid. I've always loved Metal Gear Solid. It's the reason why I like Death Stranding in the first place, because it was a game that Hideo Kojima, the director of Metal Gear Solid, made afterwards. And there's a lot of similarities, because even if it's different, it's the same director. Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima is unique. He has signature. So even if it's not exactly the same as Death Stranding, you can tell it's him. So it started out with Metal Gear, and then Metal Gear 2, and then the third game was actually Metal Gear Solid. And then they just started keeping that going. Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3. Okay, so these games have a very, very complicated lore. So I'm trying to break it down in a way that you can understand. Otherwise, you're going to be like, what the fuck is going on? Okay, so the Metal Gear is the link between tanks and nuclear armaments. When this game came out, when Metal Gear came out, it was in the 80s. When Metal Gear came out, it was in the 80s. And it was during the Cold War, and the whole premise of Metal Gear was, imagine a nearly indestructible tank that could go anywhere, that could walk, and fire nuclear bombs anywhere. So, in the first Metal Gear and the second Metal Gear, you play Solid Snake, who became one of the most famous video game characters to ever live. And you are infiltrating this base to stop Metal Gear from being made. And along the way, your boss, who's helping you, his name is Big Boss. He's your commander. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how we loop back around to being relevant. So, it's revealed that Big Boss is actually the bad guy, your commanding officer. Because he wants a world in perpetual warfare. Because then soldiers will always be needed. It's the whole thing. Okay? So, then, in Metal Gear Solid, which was like PS1, 1998, it was super famous. It was like one of the very first 3D stealth games. Like, to say it was pioneering is an understatement. They reveal that Solid Snake is a clone of Big Boss. That whole theme of that game is cloning. Now, people started to wonder, why, if Solid Snake is a clone of Big Boss, is Big Boss so different from Solid Snake and became like a bad guy? So, most of the Metal Gear Solid games, Sammy, take place in the future, the near future, 5-10 years ahead of us. So it's ahead of us, but not like cyberpunk. But they thought that with Metal Gear Solid 2, that he got kind of too into the crazy technology. So Metal Gear Solid 3 is a prequel to the entire rest of the series. It is where the Metal Gear timeline begins. It takes place in 1964, during the height of the Cold War. And it is meant to show you how Big Boss got his start and what sets him down kind of the path to villainy. Although I would like to stress that Big Boss is not a villain in the traditional sense. He's more like a tragic hero, a tragic villain, where what he wants is a good thing, but he's kind of going about it in a fucked up way. He's not like a, ooh, bad guy. Because he was like the greatest warrior who ever lived. They talk about Big Boss as like the greatest soldier who ever lived. And he constantly saw the government using and throwing away soldiers. So in his fucked up, warped mind, by making a world of perpetual warfare, he was creating a place where soldiers would always be needed and not thrown out like garbage. So he's kind of a bad guy, but he's not a bad person. Does that make sense? Like he's fucked up, he's twisted. But he, like, you get where he's coming from. And it threw a wrench into it when they said that he's a clone, because it's like, how is Big Boss so different? And this game starts to explain why. It is like the start of Big Boss's story. Big Boss does not even have the title of Big Boss in this game. This is about how he gets that title. This is him before he's villainous at all, before he's fucked up in the head at all. And shows you kind of the start of why he goes down that path. And I actually think Big Boss is a fucking amazing character, because he's very tragic and layered without spoiling a lot of the stuff that happens. He does not get that warped, twisted worldview overnight. He goes through decades of pain and suffering and all kinds of fucked up shit, like really bad stuff. Losing people he cares about, watching people get slaughtered. So I really like the character because he's trying to do the right thing, but he gets fucked up in the head due to like decades of trauma and really messed up shit, and like loses his way. But even then he's like still like trying to do what he thinks is the right thing. And that's like, that's kind of like the Cliff Notes, because you saw Death Stranding 2, you watched me play a lot of Death Stranding 2, and you saw how like detailed the story was in that game. Metal Gear Solid has just as deep of a story, except there's like 10 Metal Gear Solids. So think about like how dense the plot of Death Stranding 2 was, and then think about like 10 of that. Like I'm way condensing it down. But this is basically Big Boss's origin story. He is not a legendary soldier when this game begins, and this game is basically the story of how he becomes Big Boss and gets the title. It's not his full story, because it takes decades for him to get to the point where he's just like, yeah, let's plunge the whole world into war. But this is kind of the start of his road, and they have several games following on after this, showing his descent. And the whole theme of this game is scene. Every single Metal Gear Solid game, Sammy, has a particular theme. Now, for example, Metal Gear Solid 1, the theme was gene. The whole conflict of Metal Gear Solid 1 is, are we defined by our genetics? If I'm a clone of Big Boss, am I destined to go down the same dark road that he did? Am I inferior because of my genetics? Are you born lesser or greater? Can you overcome your DNA? So that was the theme of Metal Gear Solid 1, gene. The theme of Metal Gear Solid 3 is scene. The things that we live in change us. The things that we live in make us who we are. The times that we find ourselves in. So, technically, Big Boss and Solid Snake genetically are the same. They're clones. He's a perfect clone of Big Boss. But the things that they lived through are what changed Big Boss into somebody totally different. Yeah, there kind of is. This is 1964, so this plot actually involves the CIA. So yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not the focus of the game, but they do talk about shit like that. Like, you're part of a squad working for the CIA. So the whole theme of this game is that the things that we live through change us. That Big Boss is theoretically identical to Solid Snake, but because he lived an entirely different life in an entirely different time period, even though genetically they're the same, they're two vastly different people. And so when this game starts, he is almost undistinguishable from Solid Snake. He looks like him, he acts like him, and you start to see the differences from the shit that he goes through throughout this game's story. Where he starts to skew and become his own person and kind of become Big Boss. And I fucking love this game. And the reason why they're deciding to remake this game is because this is the fan favorite Metal Gear. There's tons of Metal Gear games. Fans will debate over which one is better all day and all night. But overall, generally speaking, Metal Gear Solid 3 is the fan favorite overall. It's the most popular game in the series. It's the one that most people love. And because it is at the earliest point in the timeline, it relies less on playing other games to understand it. So, like Metal Gear Solid 2, for example, takes place right after Metal Gear Solid 1, and they expect you to know what happened in Metal Gear Solid 1. So if they were like trying to get a new generation of that and they remade Metal Gear Solid 2, people would be super fucking confused. But Metal Gear Solid 3, it helps to know what I'm telling you, but you don't have to know that. You can play Metal Gear Solid 3 on its own. Obviously, it's much better if you understand the things I'm telling you, because there's a lot of plot moments that won't carry the same significance if you don't understand. But it's the most standalone because it's at the very start of the timeline. It was deliberately meant to be like a prequel to the rest. So it's the most popular game in the series, and it's standalone, so that's why they would start remaking Metal Gear Solid 3 first. It's kind of like the same company remade Silent Hill 2, and people are like, well, why did you remake Silent Hill 2 first? Well, it's really simple. Silent Hill 2 is standalone. You don't need to play 1 to play 2, or any of the other ones. And 2, Silent Hill 2 is the most popular Silent Hill game. So obviously, if they're trying to relaunch the series, and they're going to remake a game, they're going to remake the most popular one. And that's what it is with this. It's standalone, and it's the most popular one because there has not been a Metal Gear Solid game, Samantha, in 10 years. The series has been dormant. There used to be Metal Gear games at a pretty regular pace, and the series went under after the whole Konami shit. I told you, like, they went under. They had like a heel turn. They kicked out Hideo Kojima, and that's when he went and made Death Stranding. So Silent Hill and Metal Gear Solid both went dormant. Like I said, those were two Konami's big, like, marquee franchises. They have a lot of games, but those were the big ones. Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill. Those were the big three for Konami. And they all went dormant when Konami became dicks. They decided they wanted to make Japanese pinball machines. And by the way, that's not a joke. They're called Pachinko, and they actually decided we don't want to make games anymore. And they kicked out Hideo Kojima, and they basically, like, soiled the reputation of the whole company. Because Konami, Samantha, used to be one of the most highly regarded companies in gaming. Metal Gear Solid, one of the most beloved series in gaming. I mean, this game series alone has legions of fans to this day. It was a system seller. Metal Gear Solid 1, Samantha, is credited with being part of the reason why PlayStation 1 was a success. Because it was one of the best-selling PS1 games ever, and it was a Sony exclusive. Like, Metal Gear used to be a big fucking deal. That alone put them on the map. And then Silent Hill, obviously, they had one of the most, yes, exactly. Silent Hill, one of the landmark horror series. You had never even seen the games until I showed you the remake of 2, but even you knew how Silent Hill. It was a big fucking deal. And in its heyday, Silent Hill was like the peak of horror along with Resident Evil. They were the top. When you thought of horror in gaming, it was Resident Evil and Silent Hill, fucking neck and neck. And then Castlevania. I'm sure you've heard of Castlevania. One of the all-time classic side-scrollers. Tons of series, tons of games. So, and then, of course, there's tons of others. Obviously, they did a lot more than just those three. Those are the big three that most people know of. And so people loved Konami. They did. Konami, at one point, was one of the most, like, beloved game developers ever. I love them. And then they got, I don't know what the fuck happened. Maybe they had a change in leadership. Maybe they stopped caring. But they pissed all over, which one specifically? Just so we're clear, I mentioned like 3 games just now. Oh yes, Castlevania. Oh fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I love Castlevania. I have almost every Castlevania game ever made. That is definitely doable. Like, yeah. I will put a pin in that then. Castlevania is great. It's fucking Dracula. Werewolves, bats, vampires, ghosts. It's really simple. It's a side-scroller about kicking Dracula's ass. And I'm a fan. I like side-scrollers. I like, supernatural shit. It's great. It's one of the oldest franchises in gaming. Like, for real. Yes. Yeah, I think you would like it. I think you really would. So yes, we'll put a pin in that. I own a bunch of them on PS5, so we'll put a pin in that and I'll come back to it later. They're just really great side-scrollers. You know what I mean? They're nothing deep. They're just really great music, really great gameplay. They're just fucking fun. Going into a castle, Dracula's castle, kicking ass. So they decided to piss on Hideo Kojima. Like I said, he never did anything to them. And they decided to, like, fuck him up. I told you before, they, like, locked him in an office, wouldn't let him talk to the rest of the employees because they were afraid he might get them to leave the company with him. They probably would have, because they loved him so much. Like, he's a fucking rock star in the video gaming world. He's the closest thing you'll get to a rock star. And because they were, because they were, I think they were so focused on profit that they were trying to just get his latest game done, because they were like, they had invested too much money in his game to quit. They were like treating him like shit, and he left the company, and that's when they treated him like that. and it was a huge scandal. This happened back in 2015. Can't believe it's been 10 years now. But it was like one of these scandals of 2015. Because Konami basically shit all over him. And he's one of the most celebrated game creators of all time ever. A lot of people love him. And then they kicked him out of the company. And they wouldn't even let him get the award for his last game. The last game that he did for them was Metal Gear Solid 5. And it won a bunch of awards because it's a fucking amazing game. One of my favorite games of all time. I believe I've said that before. Metal Gear Solid 5 is fucking amazing. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you get it. Yeah, you get it. So, they kicked him out, and that already would have pissed people off. Because he's so beloved, and, you know, like, he had not done anything wrong. It wasn't like he was being a dick. It wasn't like he was, you know, being a diva. Like, he did nothing wrong. They kicked him out for no fucking reason. Because they were assholes. Like, he didn't do anything. And then they wouldn't have let him get the award for the game that he got. Metal Gear Solid 5 won a bunch of awards, because it's amazing. It was one of the highest rated games of the year, of that year. And they wouldn't let him get the award for his game. And that really pissed people off, because, I mean, yeah, if I direct a game and it wins an award, I should be able to collect your award. Fuck you. And then after that, they said, oh yeah, we're not making games anymore. We're gonna do Japanese pinball machines, and they basically did that, and, like, completely gave up on making any fucking games. Like, it was like, in 2015, they just decided, we are gonna turn into the most mustache-twirling fucking assholes possible. I mean, it was like the gaming news story of that year. You know what I mean? It was a big deal at the time. And it made people hate Konami. I mean, justifiably so. I mean, they did a lot of shitty stuff. And that's kind of where it sat for ages. They didn't make games, they made pinball machines, and it's kind of like they went from being a company that people loved to one that just fucking sucked. They were almost like one of the most hated companies. And justifiably so. So, after a bunch of years went by, I'm gonna say like 5 years, 6 years? 4 or 5, okay, let's say 4 or 5 years. All of those people left. Those assholes who ran the company in the ground. I guess they either made enough money off their pinball machines, because they make a lot of money in Japan with those things, believe it or not. Or they just were kicked out, but they left. Pretty much all of the corporate staff of Konami that was there when this shit went down in 2015 are no longer there. And a bunch of new people came in, and they said, okay, we want to restore Konami's reputation. And they started that by remaking Silent Hill 2. Because, you know, that's like their marquee game, one of their most famous games, and they need to do games. And they're continuing that with Metal Gear Solid Delta. It's basically doing what they did for Silent Hill, but for Metal Gear. You know, keeping the story the same, but bringing the gameplay up to modern standards. Because, like I told you, their 3 pillars was Castlevania, Silent Hill, Metal Gear. So they brought Silent Hill back, and now they have Silent Hill F coming out, you know, so now Silent Hill's going. So Metal Gear Delta is them attempting to bring back Metal Gear Solid 3, or not, I'm sorry, it's them attempting to bring back Metal Gear Solid by remaking the most popular game. Yes. It is. It's fucking amazing. I'm telling you. I'm gonna have to finish that. I only got to the hospital with you, and that's like a quarter way through the game. Put that a pin. Obviously, not enough time. But yes, you didn't see the whole game of Silent Hill 2, but you saw enough to see it was a fucking amazing game. The graphics, the gameplay, the lighting, the story, like, it was a fucking awesome game. The whole game is that quality. I'm telling you, like, it's amazing. So, they're trying to do the same thing for Metal Gear with Delta. That's what Delta is. They're like, hey, we want to revive Metal Gear Solid and bring it back from the dead. So let's take the fan favorite game, the one that the fans love the most, and bring it up to modern standards so that old fans can play like a better upgraded version of the game, and newcomers can get into the series, because now it's been so long that this new generation of gamers probably hasn't played Metal Gear Solid 3. Like, this game, Samantha, originally came out in 2004. So this game is now 21 years old. So there's a lot of kids who have never fucking heard of Metal Gear Solid 3. So they want to get a new generation of people into Metal Gear Solid 3. And I guess, like, from there, if Delta does well financially, they'll make new Metal Gear games. Because, like, Silent Hill 2 Remake did well financially, and then they followed it up with a brand new Silent Hill, F. So it's like, let's remake the classic game to get our foot in the door and get a taste of it, and then we can make our own stuff once we familiarize ourselves with this. So that's what Delta is. And as somebody who fucking loves Metal Gear Solid, like I've mentioned it like a bunch of times. Yes, exactly. As somebody who fucking loves Metal Gear Solid, I am 100% down for Delta. They are taking Metal Gear Solid 3, an amazing game. You're gonna see that it's an amazing game. And they're keeping everything that was good about it good, but they're modernizing the gameplay and updating the graphics. And I'm fucking sold. Kind of like, okay, here's to give you an example. The Last of Us remake. They updated the graphics, they improved the gameplay, but they kept the overall story the same. And I didn't need them to change the story because I thought the story in The Last of Us was perfect. That's what they're doing for Delta. We're going to modernize the gameplay, we're going to upgrade the graphics, but we're going to keep the core of what people loved about this game, the story, the setting, the same. And so as somebody who loves Metal Gear Solid, as you can imagine, I'm really fucking down with the idea of Delta. Yeah, see? We're in sync, baby. But yes, that is what it is. And that is why I'm so fucking stoked. I love Metal Gear Solid. I love Metal Gear Solid 3. I have put a ton of time in this game. I played it a ton of time. I have beaten this game on the hardest difficulty. That is a fucking feat. I believe I mentioned that to you before. Like, they have godlike AI and they can see you from a mile away, and if you get seen, it's instant game over. It's called European Extreme. It is notoriously fucking insanely hard, okay? So when I tell you that I finished Metal Gear Solid 3 on that difficulty, that's a major accomplishment. Let me tell you, like, very few people ever have. And that just goes to show you how much I love this game. Because that difficulty was fucking brutal, and if I didn't love the game, I wouldn't have done that. Like, there's literally parts of this game that I had to do like 50 times on the hardest difficulty. It is fucking brutal. Obviously, when I play the remake, I'm not going to jump into the new difficulty. I'm just going to do normal. Whenever I play a game for the first time or replay a remake, I start normal because that's the intended experience. And then after I reacquaint myself, I might try to do the European on that. But I have finished this game on the hardest difficulty. I would not have done all that time if I didn't love this game. So obviously, I'm really, really stoked for Delta. Now, give me 1 second, my love. I have to pee really quick. I've been drinking a lot of fluids, and that's great, but it means I have to piss a lot. I'll be right back. Yes, thank you. Yeah, no, trust me. Trust me. You would have been... It was bad. There were moments that literally made me want to rage quit, and I got visibly upset and had to quit the stream. Because I would do one part, and I would do it perfectly, and then I would fuck up one time, and I would have to do like a whole hour of progress over and over and over again. It was brutal. There were times when I almost didn't do it. But I wanted to have that prestige of saying I fucking did it, and I did. Like I said, like, less than 1% of players, have ever finished a Metal Gear game on European Extreme. So, I was able to say, I'm, in the top 1%, baby. And for one of my favorite game series, I really wanted that bragging right to say, I'm in the fucking top. So it was worth it overall. But yeah, there were parts that made me want to fucking rage quit. And you see me be pretty patient with games like Wu Chang, where I die. So if I tell you that I was like, oh, it was bad. Like I said, I'll be right back, baby. So yeah, sorry, I know, like, I've literally spent over 30 minutes sitting here talking before touching the game, but there was a lot of shit to go over. I wanted you to understand the basic gist of this game going in so you wouldn't be totally confused. And I wanted you to understand the importance of Delta and why I want Delta so much. You saw how much I love Death Stranding. You saw how important Death Stranding was to me. I never would have gotten into Death Stranding without Metal Gear Solid. You understand? Like, that is the reason why I was so pumped for Death Stranding to play it in the first place, because I loved Metal Gear Solid so much. So, like, I wouldn't even, like, have played Death Stranding if it wasn't for this series. The series is really important to me. I own every game in this series. Every main game. There's a couple spin-offs that I don't really care for. Yes. There's, a couple spin-offs, but every main game in the series I own. The overwhelming majority of them. And I own them on multiple consoles. So, this series is really important to me. And Metal Gear Solid 5 was one of the games that my grandma watched me play the most. That was her favorite game, and I believe I mentioned that too. She liked a lot of them, but MGS 5 was her favorite by far. She watched me play that whole game fucking start to finish. Like, over 100 hours of MGS 5. She loved it. And I loved the series. And it went dormant. And I was really sad that it went dormant, because we went from getting new games to not getting any new games. So when they announced that they were remaking one of the best games in the series, what most people will say is the best game in the series, for me it's Metal Gear Solid 5, but I do love 3, to modern standards, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm down. And that's what Delta is. So, and I love sharing it with you, sharing things with you, and making you a part of it. And so I wanted to explain to you about it and the importance so that you could understand it with me and appreciate it. Yes, exactly. Precisely. She was excited for Death Stranding because she loved Metal Gear Solid so much. And I'm like, oh hey, this game, Granny, is made by the same dude. And she's like, oh wow, I can't wait to see that then, like, that's why we were both excited for Death Stranding, because I'm like, I love Metal Gear Solid so much that anything else this guy does, I'm gonna get. I fucking love Hideo Kojima. He's amazing. And I think you'll like it too, because you like Death Stranding, and there's a lot of similarities. It's got, the mixture of really serious and then over the top silly humor, like Doll Man and shit like that. It's got that Hideo Kojima flavor where you can tell that it's him. It's got supernatural stuff in it. I mean, obviously this series doesn't have as much as Death Stranding, where it's like all about ghosts and shit, but there is actually like spirits and ghosts in this game that they do with. There's like an entire boss that you fight who like summons the undead to fight you. And you could almost say that was like laying the ground for fucking BTs in Death Stranding. So you, as somebody who likes Death Stranding, I think you'll see a lot of the Kojima flair, and you'll like it too. Even if it's not like Metal Gear Solid is like Death Stranding, they're different. But you can tell that it's a Hideo Kojima game. And if you like Death Stranding, I think you'll like this a lot too. It's got his signature style. He's like nobody else. You could always tell it's a Hideo Kojima game. Even people that don't like him can't say he was unoriginal. So I think with me liking it and you liking Death Stranding, that you will appreciate and like it. And also, I love history, my grandma loves history, and you love history. And this game is super historically accurate. It takes place in 1964. And while the main plot is fictional, of course, they are really accurate to the clothes of the time, the look of the time, the lingo, the movies, even the guns. They actually extensively worked to model and accurately represent guns from the 60s. Like I told you, Hideo Kojima is a notorious perfectionist. He is obsessed with the finest details, and that's one of the things, because he doesn't do anything half-assed. His games are insanely high detail. Like in Death Stranding, there's so many details. He applies that to the 60s. So I also love this game from a pure history perspective because this is super fucking authentic to the time period of the 60s and the Cold War. And I think that the Cold War, yes, I thought that the Cold War is a super unique period in history that you don't see hardly any games in. So as a history buff, I love how accurate this game is to the setting and the history. Like, they did so much research to properly portray the 60s. And I also love the fact that they chose a time period that hasn't been done to fucking death. So I think on many levels you will like this game. And I'm not going to play a ton of this game. Because I want... yes, of course. Yeah, but you know how many times they do like a game or a movie and it's not historically accurate at all? Just bullshit. So I have to commend him for going the extra mile, even the guns. Like, they got the specifications of the guns and will, like, in detail give you a synopsis of the guns. And they're accurate. Like, they did their fucking research. I mean, to the, like, you see his attention to detail. So I think you will like this game with me in levels. The setting, the accuracy, the Kojima weirdness, the supernatural shit. I really do think you'll like it. But I wanted to play the beginning of this. Now, I'm not even going to play that long of this because I got some new games and I want to show you those games before you go to bed. But I wanted you to have a reference point. In the same way that I started up The Last of Us, the original, and then I showed you the remake, I wanted you to be able to appreciate the changes. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell all of the improvements that the remake makes if you hadn't seen the original. So that's what I'm doing. I wanted you to see just the opening, maybe the first half an hour of this game, so that you can kind of see the changes when I play the remake now that I've committed to getting it. I told you I've decided I'm going to get it now at launch. So I just wanted to play the opening so you could have a reference point to compare it against. But obviously just the beginning because I want to keep the main story surprise. I want you to be going through it fresh eyes, so I don't want to play the whole thing and show you the old game before the new one. You know, so so that way you can say, oh, hey, they improved this, they changed that, and so you have a good idea of all the stuff that went into the remake that you wouldn't otherwise, you couldn't, you know what I mean? If you had no prior framework.
After the end of World War II, the world was split into two, East and West. This marked the beginning of the era called the Cold War.
Altitude 30,000 feet.
Approaching Soviet airspace.
20 minutes to drop off.
Commencing internal depressurization. Equipment check. Arm main parachute.
All right. You ready to go?
Drop zone still showing a high pressure mass. Cav okay.
Good. We've got high visibility.
Put out that cigar. Connecting oxygen hose to interior connector. Put on your mask.
And that's Snake.
Does know what he's doing?
Approaching release point.
10 minutes to drop off.
Hey, are you deaf?
He said put out the cigar and put on your mask.
Depressurization complete.
Checking oxygen supply.
6 minutes to drop off. Opening rear hatch.
Sunrise.
Oh, and like I said before, this game was made in 2004, so graphically, for 2004 on PS2, this game was crazy impressive.
2 minutes to drop off. Stand up.
You'll be falling at 130 miles per hour. Try not to get frostbite from the wind chill.
1 minute to drop off. Move to the rear.
Activate the oil bottle.
This is one for the history books. The world's first halo jump.
10 seconds to drop off. Stand by. Status okay. All green.
Prepare for drop-off. Countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Spread your wings.
And fly. God be with you.
Woo! Jump, baby!
Jack, I've got some important news. The head of the CIA has finally given us the green light for the virtuous mission.
Virtual mission?
No, the virtuous mission. The future of our Fox unit depends on it. If it succeeds, we'll be officially organized into a unit.
Virtuous mission? Sounds like some kind of initiation ritual.
You know, don't get cocky. This isn't a training op.
Right. So what exactly is this wonderful mission?
Well, about 2 years ago, a certain Soviet scientist requested asylum in the West through one of our moles. His name is Nikolai Stepanovich Sokolov. He's head of the OKB 754 Design Bureau, one of the Soviets' top-secret weapon research facilities, and the East's foremost expert on weapons development.
Sokolov? Isn't he that famous rocket scientist?
The very same. On April the 12th, 1961, the Soviets achieved the first manned spaceflight in history.
The Earth was blue, but there was no God.
Well spoken. The rocket that carried Yuri Gagarin to orbit was the A-1, known as the Vostok rocket.
It was all historically
Sokolov
accurate.
said to be the man most responsible for the multi-engine cluster used in that rocket. After Gagarin's flight, Sokolov left rocket development to become the head of the newly established Design Bureau.
From a lowly technician to head of a design bureau, that's quite a success story. So why do you want to defect?
It seems he'd become afraid of his own creations.
Afraid?
Call it a crisis of conscience.
And for that, he left his country and his family behind and went over the fence?
Not exactly. One of his conditions was that his family was also to be taken safely to the west. We used a mole to get the family out first, and succeeded in sneaking Sokolov over the Berlin Wall shortly afterwards. I was the one who conducted the operation.
The security on the eastern side was still...
Oh, that's cool.
back then.
I didn't know that.
We got Sokolov over in one piece, but the whole ordeal had left him exhausted, and we checked him into a hospital in West Berlin. It took him 2 weeks and more than 600 miles to get from the research facility in the Soviet Union to Berlin. He was in no condition to say anything coherent. And it was only a week later that we had something much bigger on our hands.
The Cuban Missile Crisis.
October the 16th, 1962, President Kennedy received word that the Soviets were in the process of deploying intermediate-range ballistic missiles in Cuba. The President demanded that the Soviets dismantle and remove the missiles. At the same time, he announced a naval blockade to prevent further missile shipments from reaching Cuba. But the Soviets didn't back down, instead placing their armed forces on secondary alert. Soviet transport ships carrying missiles continued on course towards Cuba. US and Soviet forces went on alert for an all-out nuclear war. Frantic negotiations were conducted through the
Probably.
UN's emergency
I'll try to make time to look into
security
some...
official channels to end the hair-trigger standoff. Finally, on October the 28th, the Soviet Union agreed to remove its missiles from Cuba, and so the world avoided a nuclear holocaust. But in order to get the Soviets to pull their missiles out, we had to make a deal.
You mean the one where the US agreed to remove its IRBMs from Turkey?
No. The Jupiter IRBMs deployed in Turkey were obsolete, and we were going to get rid of them anyway. They had no strategic value whatsoever to either the US or the Russians. The Turkey deal was a ruse, a cover story that was fed to the other intelligence agencies around the world.
So what did the Russians really want?
Sokolov. They wanted us to return Sokolov.
You mean the Soviets pulled out of Cuba just to get their hands on Sokolov?
That's right.
What the hell was he working on?
At the time, we had no idea. We were running out of time. It was either give up Sokolov or risk full-scale nuclear war. In the end, we had no choice. President Kennedy gave in to Khrushchev's demand. The next day, I got Sokolov out of the hospital, handed him over to agents on the eastern side. Sokolov kept on screaming, "Save me," until he disappeared from my sight. Then, a month ago, we received some new information from one of our moles.
About Sokolov?
Yes. He was taken back to the research facility and forced to continue working on the weapon in question under KGB supervision. Once more, it's on the verge of completion.
So what kind of weapon is it? Something to do with space rockets?
No, missiles.
Same technology.
I guess you're right. We don't know the details, but it appears to be a new kind of nuclear device. For half a year now, the Soviets have been conducting frequent nuclear tests at Semipalatinsk.
Something to do with the weapon, I assume.
We're talking about a secret weapon so big that Khrushchev was ready to pull out of Cuba to get it back.
Is Sokolov still in the facility?
No. According to our intelligence, he's in Selino-Yarsk, a place in the mountains about 3 miles to the west that's known as the Virgin Cliffs.
The Virgin Cliffs. Nice name for a virtuous mission.
They moved him there just recently.
Why?
Apparently, they're conducting a field test of the weapon, but it's our best chance to get him back. This mission would never have been possible if he was still in the research facility. This is our last chance. Sokolov must have known that too when he contacted us.
Woo!
Listen up, Jack. Your mission is to infiltrate the safety of Sokolov and bring him back to the West. If we don't get Sokolov back before that weapon is complete, we'll be facing a major crisis. The clock is ticking.
And another part that's historically accurate.
Rescue Sokolov, stand by at the recovery point. A recovery balloon will be dropped.
He said this is the world's first Halo.
Helium will be pumped into the balloon to
High altitude, low oxygen jump. The first Halo was believed to have been done in 1964.
Surface-to-air recovery system. I'm familiar with the theory.
Take it easy. It's been combat-proof.
Do you think Sokolov is up to it?
The shock will be less than during a parachute jump, and the arm can handle up to 500 pounds.
So you're planning on going over the border in a single combat talent?
She's equipped with 2 6-barrel 20mm Vulcan cannons, as well as 2 40mm machine guns.
Sounds like she could hold her own against a battalion of tanks.
Even with the fuel in the reserve tank, we're facing a 4-hour time limit. If all goes well, it shouldn't take more than a few hours.
Home in time for dinner.
But if anything goes wrong,
You'll be eating dinner, breakfast,
and all the rest of your meals in the jungle.
The Metal Gear games also have a lot of story scenes. Some people don't like it because they think it has too much story. But I like it. Because it's not like they're just story. And honestly, because the games have such detailed stories with so many characters, that it's kind of hard to do that without having a lot of cutscenes. But, I mean, that's also, you know, similar to Death Stranding 2. The game had a good amount of story scenes. Yeah. Whew. Jeez. I would love to try skydiving, but I'm just afraid. Like, I would freak the fuck out.
Do you copy? You're already in enemy territory, and somebody might be listening in. From here on out, we'll be using code names to refer to each other. Your code name for this mission will be Naked Snake. I'll be referring to you as Snake from now on. You're not to mention your real name.
Snake?
Oh, you don't like snakes?
What do you mean?
You've eaten one before, haven't you?
In survival training?
I'm glad to hear that.
I don't know if I'd ever order one at a restaurant, but...
Be careful, you might not have a choice.
What about you, Major? What should I call you?
Let's see. I'll be Tom. Call me Major Tom.
Major Tom,
This
the
will be a
ground
sneaky
control.
You must not be seen by the enemy. You must leave no trace of your presence. Is that clear? This kind of infiltration is the Fox unit's speciality. In other words, weapons and equipment are procured on site. That goes for food as well. You're completely naked, just as your name implies.
Oh, you eat a bunch.
Now
You
I
eat
see
a
why
bunch
you
of
said I like
stuff.
snakes. I suppose calling me Snake was your idea of a joke, too.
No.
Let's get into some of the dialogue. I just want you to be able to see. Okay, so most of the time, Samantha, Metal Gear was in an urban base, infiltrating an enemy base. And they were in the near future. So, like, Metal Gear Solid 1 came out in 1988, and it took place in 2005. Metal Gear Solid 3 was deliberately meant to be in stark contrast. The majority of this game takes place in a jungle, a rural jungle. And it's in the past. And they had to try and actually show you a realistic depiction of what an operative would have to endure in the jungle. Like eating wildlife. But see, the game originally had this camera. And then they updated it with this camera. Hold on. Yeah. He also has to manage his hunger. But for the time, Samantha, this game was a fucking visual powerhouse. It was fucking gorgeous. Like, in order to replicate the jungle, they actually had fully rendered blades of grass that would move when you went through them. And I know that's, like, commonplace in games now, but for 2004, this was fucking insane. And required all kinds of hardware trickery to get that shit to run. But it's kind of hard to realistically portray hiding in a jungle without grass. I'm skipping some of the dialogue just because I'm just trying to give you a general taste. And the game has a lot of story scenes in the beginning. Yeah. So now I can kind of give you a bit of an example of what I mean about the gameplay and how they're going to modernize it. Okay, so originally in the Metal Gear, the stealth game, the start of the series, you could walk and then go prone, and that worked on the NES. But it's kind of awkward because in most modern stealth games, Samantha, you can crouch. When you sneak, you crouch. In Metal Gear Solid 3, and up until a couple games later in the series, there was no crouch walking. It was either full running or going prone. You can only sit there like in the middle, and not being able to crouch walk kind of fucks with me because, you know, when you sneak around, that's kind of what you think, you know, sit there and crouch and walk around. I mean, it made sense at the time, but that's kind of really dated now. So, for example, they let you crouch walk in Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta. That alone changes, like, totally thing, actually being able to sneak around like a modern stealth game. You can't move and shoot at the same time. They made it so you can move and shoot at the same time. The game has a really cool system where you have camo, and you have to deal with camouflage to match up, which, you know, is true to being in the jungle, see? And your camouflage shows you how close, how protected you are. The better your camouflage, the harder it is for them to spot you. So, hold on, let me see. Yeah. Tiger Stripe. Yeah, exactly. See? Now my camo meter is 80, so it's much harder to see me. But while that was a really cool system, and it was true to life having like camo and being able to blend in, it could get really tedious to have to constantly come in the screen and change your clothes. Oh, I'm now against this backdrop. Open the menu, pause, switch. So they've added, yes. So, in Delta, they've added a quick swap for your camo. You can assign a camo to your D-pad and switch camo really quickly. So they keep the system of having the right camo to match the right situation, but instead of opening the menu, going to the uniform, looking, you literally can just quick swap. Which is much better. Snake Eater! Yeah. I'm gonna be getting Delta ED3, and Sammy is unfamiliar with the Metal Gear games. And I'm gonna be streaming Delta at launch. I'm getting the deluxe edition, lets you access it 2 days early, because I'm a huge Metal Gear fan. So I wanted to play the intro to Metal Gear Solid 3, the original Metal Gear Solid 3, so that Sammy could have a reference point. I want her to be able to see all the stuff the remake improves. And obviously, if she's never seen the original, so I'm just playing the intro of 3 to introduce her to the series, so she can kind of have a reference point for how they've improved Delta. And, you know, like I said, Sammy, for 2004, this level of, like, a jungle rendering was fucking insane. Like, I mean, this pushed PS2 to the fucking limit. And see, there's alligators. You have to deal with alligators trying to get you. See, like, that's kind of clunky. That doesn't really need to be done. But see, he has a stamina meter. That's his health at the top, and then that's a stamina meter. Your stamina gradually drains. So you have to eat to keep your stamina up. If you let your stamina go too low, yes, exactly. If you let your stamina go low, he'll start to shake like crazy and make it hard to aim. So you have to keep your stamina up by hunting wildlife. Because they were trying to be accurate to, like, a lone operative surviving in the jungle. So, eat. See, and you eat stuff to keep your stamina up, so you have to hunt as an operative stuck in the jungle wood. And then you have to deal with, like, mud. This is mud. It can kill you if you drown in it, so you have to get out of it. And we talked about the detail you can actually see his clothes are dirty where he slipped into the mud. Like, that's cool today. But in 2004, Sammy, that level of detail was fucking insane. And what I mean when I say Kojima has always been detail-oriented. Like, there was no other PS2 game where you could actually see his clothes get muddy. Where he goes into it. I honestly still think this game looks good now. But in 2004, this was like, holy shit, like, this game set a new benchmark for video game graphics. It was really good. And see, you can hide in bushes, in grass, so they can't see you. You can climb up trees, hug walls. And the game has like this melee system. See, this is the closest you can get to crouch walking. This sucks. It's like this slow crawl, like. So I'm really glad that in Delta they actually had the ability to crouch walk. That's what I mean. And then you have a melee combat system, and it's called CQC, close quarters combat. It's a real system that they developed in the 60s, but it's a really cool system because you can punch an enemy, you can grab an enemy and slam them, you can put them in a chokehold, you can interrogate them with a knife, you can strangle them out, like if you don't want to kill them, you can slit their throat. The problem with the system is that it's very complicated. The button commands are kind of complicated, and it takes a long time to learn them. Obviously, I know a good chunk of them because I play the shit, but it took me a while to learn it. So, for example, in Delta, they're going to be, they've simplified the controls without losing the depth. You can still do everything you can do in this game, but it's easier to understand. I'm just letting him kill me. I was trying to show you the melee combat, but I always try to do this stealthy when I can. And I think they're also adding a restart checkpoint option. So, like, say that just happened, you get caught. Normally, you'd have to either just say fuck it or die to restart at a checkpoint. I'm pretty sure in the remake, they're just going to allow you to restart at the nearest checkpoint, because I try to go through it completely silent, you know what I mean? I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to that. But I can show you what I mean when I say that I had to learn a lot of tips and tricks to beat this game on European Extreme. One of which I'll show you right now. Well, I'm about to. So, they found out that when you hold a grenade, you have a stun grenade. Fuck, do I not have the fucking grenade? Is it not in my pack? It should be in my pack. Yes. Fuck, I don't have the fucking... Actually, hold on. Is it back there? Did I miss the pack? Fuck it, dog. Okay, well, there's a trick you can use where in this particular game, if you hold a grenade in your hand and you're about to throw it, you don't make sound when you move. So normally, if I was running up to an enemy quickly, they would hear me before I could reach them. But if you use a grenade trick, you can pull out the grenade, hold it, run up to them, unequip it, and then slam them down to run around much quicker and stealth than you normally would. Like I said, I actually had to learn a huge amount of this game, fucking inside and out, to beat it on European Extreme. And here was some funny, like I told you, Metal Gear will be like serious, and then they'll have some silly, So that's like a staple of Kojima, like the serious with the silly. So like this enemy encounter, you could do this the legit way and just fight them. But if you shoot this bee nest, it causes the bees to attack the soldiers, and it's fucking hilarious. Because all the enemies in the area run away from the bees, like, ah, shit, the bees! And so, like, it's all serious, and then you're making a bunch of dudes flee for their fucking life from bees. And there's all kinds of silly shit like that throughout this game. He has like a patented mix of silly and serious. It's why I love him. Like you saw in Death Stranding, it'll be really serious, and then you see some funny shit. And another thing that's really cool, you can hang from ledges. Like, if I didn't shoot down that nest, I could have saddled across the bridge to sneak by. Which is really cool. Or, for example, there's a hidden cave right here with items. Normally, you'd have to go down all the way around, but if you play the game, like I have, you'll know, you can do this, and then, drop, and then immediately climb back up. Yeah, you have to be on level terrain to climb up, I'm pretty sure. I hope they change that too, because that's a little bit annoying. Here we go. Ah, you mother... Ah, whatever, I think it... Yeah. And see, you have a stamina meter for climbing, and the lower your hunger is, the less stamina you have. I mean, realistically. Obviously, you're not going to be as strong if you're starving yourself, so it's important to hunt down shit and food and stuff. Yeah, see, here we go. Like, see? My camo is less effective here. Alright, baby. I'll wait for you to come back. But yeah, I'm fucking pumped for, Delta. Are you, interested in getting an 83? Because I know you said you like Kojima and you like Metal Gear, so I figured you'd probably be down for launch. Oh my god. They're literally bringing Bubsy 3D to modern systems. Holy shit, let it die. That game is a fucking fetid abortion. It's a fucking awful game. It's considered to be one of the worst fucking 3D platformers of all time ever. It's notoriously fucking awful. See, I can grab him. I can choke him. Slit his throat. Or, like, more crazy details. You can break through the window. Well, you have to do it just right. Hold on. See, like, being able to break through the window. That's crazy. But, like, I fucking love the world in this game so much. Like, this abandoned Soviet factory is just super awesome. And there's so many different ways to play through the situations. You could kick down this barrel and hit any enemies underneath it, and it explodes. You can crawl underneath the floor and hide underneath the floor. Climb up the roof of the building and shoot them from above. And you can even walk on a tight beam. So I could have hit that guy from up here. And for 2004, that was pretty fucking dope. You know, the problem is a lot of those mechanics haven't aged well. Like, they feel clunky or outdated. So that's the goal, to keep the spirit the same. The story, the levels, but to modernize the gameplay without losing what made it great. And I really do think they're going to accomplish that. Like, it looks really good. Like, I showed you, like, all the improvements they made. Keeping the melee system, all the cool stuff you can do, but making it so that the commands aren't so complicated that you need to fuck with it for hours before you understand what you're doing. Having you be able to quick swap camo instead of having to pause and open the menu every time. That can get really annoying when you have to switch several times in a scene. Like, oh, I'm by mud now. Let me swap out my outfit. Pause, ding, 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 ding. Oh, I'm in grass now. Pause, ding, ding, ding. Being able to just, like, quick swap. Super convenient. Being able to crouch walk. Like I said, that's one of the, it seems like a minor thing, but for me, going from this to literally this with nothing else in between is really hard to deal with. So just being able to, like, naturally crouch like in any other modern stealth game, super cool. Better aiming. You know, like, it's just a top to bottom overhaul to modern standards. And then graphically, you saw how pretty Silent Hill 2 Remake was. It was a gorgeous game. They're using the same engine for the remake of Delta. So imagine this game, all the cool stuff about this game, but with modernized graphics with that engine and modernized gameplay up to modern standards while still keeping all the cool stuff, the setting, the levels, the story. I'm really excited for Delta. Yes, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, they're keeping all the good stuff. You know what I mean? I'm skipping some of the stuff. Like I said, I want the majority of the story to be a surprise. I was just trying to give you a taste of the game, and so you have a comparison. Like, the game also lets you heal yourself. See an X-ray, and you actually have medic stuff you can use. Bandage, splint, septic. So you actually have to treat his fucking injuries. I'm skipping through it. But, you know, like, oh, hey, it says, oh, I'm damaged, it says my arm is fucked up. Let's use a suture kit. So, once again, it was really advanced for the time. And that was the whole point, was to effectively convey the vibe of surviving in the jungle, having no help, being like an operative. You have to make do. And they have a really cool mechanic, Sammy. It's like just a visual thing, but it's so fucking cool. You saw how, like, when you get damaged, you have to heal. You know, like, you suture, use kits, like that system. The system works the same in Delta, but you will actually get unique scars. If, for example, you get a wound on your arm, and you have to stitch it up, that wound will leave a mark that you can see on his arm for the rest of the playthrough. And those marks are not preset. It's dynamically to the injuries you get. So literally the scars and wounds the Snake has are completely unique. And like, that is such a cool fucking detail.
So how does it feel? Yesterday.
And I've never seen another game do that. Oh, shit, I just committed a hate crime. Blackface. I swear it's camo! It's just camo! Oh, no, even worse. Even worse. It's 1964, okay? It was a different time! Metal Gear Solid 3. Racism. Rated B for bigotry. Yeah. And now I can show you that trick I was telling you earlier. When I went to do that trick, I didn't have a fucking grenade, so I couldn't do it. Now I can show it to you. I have a grenade now. And it's a really helpful trick. It probably won't be active in the remake, because they're overhauling the gameplay. So a lot of the old tricks probably won't work, but there'll probably be new tricks, you know what I mean? Like, because they're updating the gameplay so much, I will have to relearn the system. It won't just transfer over, you know what I mean? But that's a good thing, because they're modernizing, but, like, that's why, like, even though I've technically beaten this game on the hardest difficulty, I wouldn't start the remake on the hardest difficulty, because all those changes to the gameplay are massive, and I've kind of got to relearn the system. And I'm sure they will keep some of the old stuff around just for it to be faithful, but yeah. But see, if I walked normally up to this guy, he would hear me. But I equip the grenade, I draw it like I'm about to throw it, and I don't throw it, I hold it. Then I get rid of it, and knock his ass out. And see, well, you'll see. Here's a better example. My bad. I wouldn't have been able to get close to him without alerting him without doing that, running at that speed. So it allows you to blaze through a lot of sections. Because I told you, normally, when you get up close to an enemy, Sammy, you have to do this lame-ass crouch walk. It's really, really slow, and it can be tedious. So using that trick, you can just run up to an enemy, pull a grenade, knock their ass down, but you have to do it just right, because obviously if you fuck it up, you're going to throw the grenade. You don't want to do that. But like I said, it's one of the tricks I had to learn to get past this shit. On the hardest difficulty, where the enemies can spot you if you make a fucking... If you drop a pin, they're on your ass. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, you wouldn't think to do that. That's what I mean, you know? But I looked up all kinds of tips and tricks. There's a guy on YouTube, he's a super great guy, I'll give him a shout out, called Perfect Stealth. He has videos showing these tricks, and he's a lifesaver.
Who's that?
See? Without the grenade, he hurt me from much farther away. But I probably wouldn't even have to do that in the Delta, because you can just fucking crouch walk at a reasonable speed. But yeah, okay, I just wanted to give you that example so you could appreciate the original game and understand it. Now, I'll be right back. I'm going to switch to one of the new games I got. I love you. And whoever's watching, like, comment, and subscribe!